Hello everyone, welcome back to ENR 153 car project tutorial videos. So we're almost done. We're gonna start the car assemblies videos or assemblies. So let's jump right in. So let's do File, New. It's gonna be an assembly. So we're gonna do these assemblies in pieces. So we're gonna do the video, probably the first video. It's just gonna be the chassis with the control arm for the front wheel. We'll probably mirror that, and then we'll create some folders for the mates, and then we'll progress to the new to the next video. They shouldn't be too bad, right? Pretty straightforward. But we're just gonna divide them up into 4 different videos. So what I want to do here is I'm just gonna go to my car project video, and I want to insert my first part, and you guys can guess that will be my chassis plate, right? So we're gonna build everything around that chassis plate part, just like if you would do in a real life. You would take that chassis fabricated part and then start assembling stuff to it. So basically you're gonna do the same exact thing. We're gonna start with our base, in this case is just the chassis plate. So I'm gonna go to car parts 1, and I have my chassis plate, and I'm gonna click open, and I'm just gonna click OK and take the full so it's made it to the origin, right? So it's fixed. I can move this, right? So again, going back to our previous videos, if it's floating, you click OK, then it's not made it to the origin. You can do it 2 ways, right? If I go to view, hide and show, and if I go to my origin, right, it's made it to the origin. But in your case, if it's not, there's 2 ways you can do it. It's either you start over or you just add a relation to that origin. So I'm gonna go to view, I'm just gonna hide that, right? We don't need to see it. So I have my chassis plate. Let's switch to plain white. I don't know if that's better. Just have a white background. So let's throw in. So let's see. I'm trying to think of what's the best way to do this. So we have. I bring this around, right? So we're basically just gonna do, let's say, one side. I can see that we have 2 washers, screw, we have probably a hex nut in the bottom, and we have the front wheel assembly, which we've created, right? It's a sub-assembly that we have already done, and it's ready to go. And I also want to create the control arm, add the control arm, or the steering arm. So let's do this. So I'm just going to insert, probably just insert my first washer. So in this case, 15. That's a general purpose washer for 1/4 inch screws. So let's do that. So I'm going to file, I'm just going to insert component. I'm going to go car project, vendor parts, and let's go to washers. And it's the 1/4 flat washer. So I'm just double checking the part number. So the part number for that is right here, 98970A129. That's exactly this one. I'm gonna click open, just like that. It's gonna be floating. Can place it here, right? It's anywhere I want. This is fixed, this is floating, right? We have not fully defined that. So let's go ahead and add some mates. So I want a concentric mate between these 2 circular faces. Gonna click OK. Oops, it's somewhere in there. So let's go back. I'm just gonna hit Control Z. Sorry about that. I'm just gonna move this up a bit. And let's try that again. Perfect. I guess I could have went there and try and dig that out, but again, I can just that's why positioning the first part is important, right? I want to put it somewhere where I can see it, and when you mate it, it's not somewhere within the part. Again, my second mate here is going to be just a face to face, right? These two faces, and it's going to be a coincident mate. Click OK. And right here, I'm just going to create a folder. So let's do, I'm just going to try and add, let's name this left, in this case, it's left steering arm mates. Let's throw that in there too. So I have a folder that's, in this case, it's the left steering arm mates. I have these two so far. Just to keep everything organized, right? This is going to be a big assembly. So I want to make sure I start organizing things in the beginning. Make sure you have your folders because that you will be taking points off if you don't have the folders created. Right? Organization is a big thing here. So what I'm gonna insert next is the steering. So if I'm gonna go back to car project, in this case it's gonna be, sorry, car parts 3, I believe. Oh, nope. Car parts 1. Steering arm. And I'm gonna insert my steering arm. Again, if I hold down the right mouse, the right click and hold down, I can rotate. So I want it somewhere around here. I'm gonna bring this up a bit, right? What I want to do is add again a concentric mate between those two. Perfect. What I also want to do is add face to face. All right, so my bottom face to that top face on the washer. Click OK. Now that rotates around that point or axis. Perfect. So I know that I need another washer on the top. So a nice little trick here, if I have my flat washer, if I hold the control key, I can bring another one in. So if I click on it, hold it down, just drag it to my work area. And let's do face to face first. I want it here. Right, my bottom face to that top face. And I'm gonna add a concentric mate. Perfect. So that rotates. I have my two washers. What I want to add next is, let's see, let's add our quarter diameter shoulder screws. That's 1024 shoulder screw. So let's go ahead and add that. I'm going to insert component. I'll go back to car project. This is a vendor part. I'm going to go in screws. In this case, I'm just double checking with my bill of materials. It's going to be, let's see. So I have on my BOM, it's item number 16, and depending on which bill of materials you look at, that might be different. So it's a quarter diameter by quarter inch, 1024 shoulder screw, and that so it's 91259A533. So it's 9125A533, which is this one. I'm gonna click open, and I'm gonna put it somewhere here. The first mate I want to add, again, it's going to be just a concentric mate. Wait, I can, oh, I don't want to, let's exit out of here. I can just take it up, drag it out, and then maybe I want to put these in here, right? They're all left steering arm mates. Just as I go through, I'm just going to add them to keep my work area nice and clean. The next thing is, right, so this face is going to hit that bottom face first, right? That's how the screw is going to bottom out. Or it's going to be seated, not bottom out necessarily. So if I add a coincident mate there, I'm going to click OK. Again, so you're going to notice this gap here. And that's okay, right? Because we have tolerances on everything. We have the tolerance on the two washers, right? We have a tolerance on my steering arm. We also have a tolerance on the screw. So there's a lot of different things that come into play. Again, if you for some reason you want to find out what that distance is at any point, you can go to evaluate, hit measure. You can take that face and that face, and it's 0.03, so 30 thou. So I have this, right? And I don't care if this rotates. That's okay. If you want to lock the rotation, right, you can add, I also don't care if this rotates, right? That's the minus sign is these are rotating. You can lock the planes if you would like, right? At any point I can go in, let's say for this flat washer, I can add the right plane with that face, add a parallel relation, right? That's going to lock in, fully define it. But I mean, for the purpose of this video and this course, we really don't care. Let's see if is that better? Yeah, that might be a bit better to see. So for the purpose of this video, we really don't care, do we? If these rotate. So I know that the screw rotates. You might want to lock the rotation of the screw, right? So I can add a mate between that face. Oh, let me put that back in there. I accidentally dragged that out. That face, and let's say this face, and maybe add a parallel relation. And now we lock the rotation of that screw. And you can do the same thing with the washers, right? I'm just gonna put these in here. So let's do that. So I have my two washers. So my top plane here, and let's say my front plane here. Maybe you want to add a mate. It's going to be parallel mate. Okay. Same thing I'm going to do here. Flat washer, right? So this one rotates. I'm just going to add a parallel. Again, you don't have to do this. So a top plane here, and maybe my front plane here. It's going to hit mate. It's going to add a parallel. That's automatically selects that, right? They can't be coincident, right? They're now on the same plane. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to throw these in there. We definitely don't want to lock the steering arm, right? We want it to rotate. But for some reason, if you want to lock it, right, we can add some kind of a relation and then suppress that later on. But again, I want it to rotate at all times, so I'm going to leave it like that. One thing to do is I'm just gonna save, right? We're doing a lot of things here, and the assembly is only gonna get bigger and more complicated. So let's go ahead and just save for now. So I'm gonna go to save as, rebuild. Let's go to, I believe project, and I'm gonna car assemblies. I'm gonna create a new folder. Just use assembly 1. Again, we're gonna have basically one assembly, right? We're gonna keep adding on, but we're gonna divide that into 4 different videos, right? So we're gonna have chassis assembly 1, 2, 3, and 4. But again, it's probably when we grade this, we're only gonna look at your overall assembly. Click save. So one thing missing, right, is I have missing my screw here. My nut. So let's do that. So I'm missing so there's a 1024 machine screw hex nut. That's item 17. So I'm gonna go to insert component, desktop, car project. Again, your vendor parts location might be a bit different depending on where you're located at. I put it in my car project video, car project folder. Sorry. So let's go to nuts and hardware, and it's a 1024 machine screw hex nut, 9480. So 9480 A 011. So I'm looking for 9480 A011, and it's a 1024 hex nut. Perfect. So let's do that. Let's insert it this way, right? And in real life, really, it doesn't matter what face it is, right? When you are trying to torque that down, but from an assembly standpoint, right, we want the chamfer parts to be facing up, just so when you torque it down, it's not binding up, right? So let's do that. Let's add again, I can select any circular edge. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to add a concentric mate to my thread. I'm going to click OK. And I'm just going to add, right, again, you probably can do this, or you can probably guess what the next step is going to be, right? We're trying to add that coincident mate. And so again, you can guess, right? We can rotate this. One way to do this. Let's lock the rotation, and maybe add a parallel mate between these two faces. Click OK, and that part is fully mated and defined. The only thing that has the minus sign is my steering arm, and I explained the reason, right? Because I want it to rotate around that concentric or around the screw, right? I want to be able to steer the car. And I want to be able to show that, right? If I add a parallel mate here, I won't be able to show that motion. So again, to fully mate that nut, right, we add a concentric mate, then a coincident mate between those two faces, and then parallel to lock it. So I'm just gonna throw these in here in my folder. So I have if I open up at any time, I have all these mates. Let's go ahead, and I'm just gonna save, rebuild the document, right? So for this video, right, we really, before I mirror that, so what I want to add next is I want to add my front wheel assembly. So let's do that. Let's insert component. Again, that's going to be my project videos, car assemblies, front wheel assembly, and let's insert that file. Right, we've already created this part in the previous videos. So I want to add two different mates here. I want to add a concentric mate, right, between these two. Now I can rotate about that, but again, I want to add a second concentric mate, right? Next, I want to add, right, so now it slides, right, it's a little funky. So let's do between that face and the bottom face of that steering arm. Click OK. So we have so far. Bring that to my window. So let's add the hardware. So I know I'm gonna lock this down with two 832 socket head cap screws. So let's do that. So let's do, oh, I'm over defining something here. I have a, why is that? One of the entities or reference feature in this mate is suppressed, invalid, or no longer present. If I open up this subassembly, do I have concentric? That's weird. I don't think I had an issue with that. Let's add a mate here. I'm not sure if you guys are having or had to got the same error, but let's add a concentric mate here. That should fix it. I actually, when I saved it, I don't think I got the error, so I'm a bit surprised. But again, sometimes SolidWorks doesn't like the way we do things, but that's okay. There's always a way to fix it. So again, I basically just went and deleted that mate, and just added another concentric mate since everything is related. Go to File, Save. If I'm guessing you're not gonna get the same error, I'm not sure why I got that error, but if you do, just make sure you go back and fix that concentric mate. Yes. Okay. So that seemed to fix that. So I'm just gonna throw these in here. Or whenever that says that needs to be regenerated, you can click on regenerate. But as we move it, it's always going to need to be regenerated, so you can just leave it. Right, as we move a component, SolidWorks wants to regenerate that. So you're going to run through that a lot. So let's insert components. Again, just reference your vendor parts. It's going to be screws, and it's going to be an 832 socket head cap screw. It's a 9125 18194. So it's this part. I'm going to insert that one. So again, at this point you should be very comfortable with figuring out what mates you should define or choose. I'm just gonna switch to the direction. Right, and this one is going to be just a face, that bottom face of the screw to that steering arm. It's going to be a coincident mate. We can do the same thing here. So I'm just gonna grab another 832 cap screw, and depending on, you can add a mate to fully define that. I can add a mate between that face and that, right? A parallel command mate, and that should fix it. Let's see what else we're missing, right? I just want to add the same screw here. So if I click on it and I hold down the control key, I can drag another one out instead of going back to insert. Or you can just go to insert that last component. I want to replicate the same thing, so I want to add a concentric mate. I also want to add a bottom face to my top face of the steering arm, and maybe add a similar parallel mate. Click OK. And you should be very comfortable with adding mates at this point, right? So let's throw all of these in here. I don't know. I cannot draw drag drop, so it doesn't like to do multiple ones, so I'm just gonna add them one by one. Again, this list is getting quite long. Right, it's only gonna get longer. Right, we're gonna keep adding mates, but again, it's keeping things organized, right? Okay, so we're done with our left side. What we want to do next is we're gonna basically do the same thing on the right side, right? If we're looking at it this way, this is the left side. We want to do the exact same thing on the right side. What you don't want to do is mirror these components, right? And the reason is, if I mirror that, and let's do that, let's show it. If I go to select, let's say I select all of these, and if I do mirror components, I'm gonna go to my from plane. Right, if I move this, they both move, right? That makes, right? This makes no sense. Really, cars don't really work this way, right? If I want to turn this way, this wheel has to turn in the same direction, right? These basically inside faces and the outside have to be parallel to each other. So let's delete our component. And instead of me pausing the video, usually I pause the video here and I build this again. I'm just gonna do that really quick. So again, I'm gonna throw in some washers. So let's see. So I have a washer here. So again, I'm gonna do this quick, and the reason is because we're doing the same thing again, right? Usually I pause the video here, but I'm just gonna, oops, I don't want to do that. I don't want to lock. So if you think I'm going quick, again, the reason is because we're basically doing the same thing over and over. And I'm just not gonna pause the video. I'm just gonna go through it just at a bit faster pace, right? So I want to add a coincident. Let's grab my, oops. Again, at any time, so it's the steering arm. I'm gonna hold the control key. I'm gonna grab a new one here, and I'm gonna rotate that. Mate that. A good practice for this is if you actually just pause the video and do it yourself, right? You should be comfortable doing this on your own. But I'll show it. Right, these two have to be independent of each other. So right here, I'm just gonna do a new folder. I'm gonna call that right. steering arm mates. Let's throw these in there. Again, I need another washer. Let's throw one here. Let's add a concentric. Oh, I don't know where the lock. I don't want that locked. You just need to slow down. All right, it's concentric. Maybe now just add a mate between these two faces. Right here I have my, what else do I need? My shoulder screw, right? I'm gonna hold down the control key, grab one out, mate that concentric to this. Let's do this face again with that face. Oh, not that. Sorry, let me fix it. Let me take that out so I can see better. So that face with, what am I looking for? Here. No. It seems like I'm grabbing the wrong. Can't see very clearly. Yeah, it's that face should be needed to. Yeah, perfect. I think I was just grabbing the wrong face. So we have that all set. Let's do the hex nut here. Made that. Oh, it's because I'm selecting the whole part, and that's why it's locking it. So I'm gonna make sure to click away. That and that, and a concentric mate here. You can also add a parallel mate if you would like. It's not necessary. And we can also add, let's say, a parallel mate here. Again, let's close. I did it somewhat fast again. I usually pause here, but for the purpose of this, right, I'm just going to show you guys. If I would create this again, it's basically doing the same thing again. Throw these in there. And let's see, what else do we have? I have my wheel mount, or my front wheel assembly. Let's grab another one of that. Let's rotate that. Add concentric mates here and here. Oops. Where'd my wheel go? Come back. That face. Perfect. Let's do that so they're independent of each other. That's what we want. Throw these in the right steering arm mates, or whatever you decide you want to call your folder. What we need here is 2 of the 832s. I'm gonna grab a mate. Concentric. Again, you can add a parallel mate here if you would like. It's not necessary. Let's throw these in that folder to keep everything organized. Let's grab another one of these. Hold down the control key and grab one out. Concentric. And a parallel. I'll throw these in there. I believe I have everything, right? I have two washers, a shoulder screw, and they're independent of each other, right? If I was steering and I wanted to turn left, right, it would go something like that. I want to turn right, it would go something like that, right? So that'll be it for this video. I have everything organized. So thank you for watching. We'll jump back into the second video very soon. So I'll see you then.